Hello everyone and welcome to this fly tying video. Today we're going to tie the Hi Viz F Fly. This is the first in a 3-part series that I'm doing with SIM Suisse, which is the Italian fly casting style school in Switzerland. And with them I'm presenting 3 tutorials on dry flies. The pitch was to have 3 different flies, but they all had to be really visible and really buoyant, float really well, as they were going to be fished in really fast moving waters. So for this first video we're going to tie a caddis using only a few materials but a few techniques to make this really float well and also be visible. The 2 other videos are going to be, one is a terrestrial and one is going to be a mayfly. So first off we're going to go through the materials that you need for this fly. I have a hook already placed in the vise. This one is a dry fly hook, size 14. This one is the Ahrex FW503. Size 14 is for me a sweet spot, but you can go down size 18, go up size 10. You then just have to use a little bit more or a little bit less material. And for the body material, we're going to use a material quite new to me, which is Kapok dubbing. And this is a really fine fiber and has been used, for example, to fill life vests. So it's really a buoyant material. For this color variation, we're going to use the color light brown. The only other material that we're going to use for this fly is CDC. And here I've chosen to do a 2-color CDC just to make it more visible. And also with this technique, we're going to be able to trap a lot more air in the CDC and to have it float longer. So for the wing in itself, we're going to use some dark brown CDC. Here I've already selected 4 feathers. But as I said, if you go up or down in size, you may have to vary the number of feathers that you use. Maybe with a 16 you go with 3 feathers, size 18 a little bit less, size 10 more, and so on. And for the visible part of the fly, I'm going to use another CDC feather. This one is in pink, and I'm going to show you a nice technique to get all these fibers bundled. The thread I'm using is the Semperfli Nanosilk 18/0 in beige, which is my favorite thread for all kinds of small flies. But you could also go with your normal 8/0, 12/0 and so on. This is really up to you. So we're going to start right behind the eye, putting down a layer of thread. So we want to go back to a little bit before the bend, just past the point of the hook. Cut off the excess. And now for the dubbing. This, as I mentioned, is a really fine fiber and it's also quite slippery. So what we're gonna do is to do the split thread technique and to incorporate the dubbing into the thread, spin it up, and this way we will get a more durable body. So just take a few small pinches of the dubbing, and here I'm gonna card it, or I'm gonna make like a little mat out of the material. Put that one aside for the moment. Now we're gonna spin our thread. So you want to spin it counterclockwise in order to flatten it. Once the thread has spun a little bit, you can come in with your nail and just flatten this a little bit more. Then with a needle we're gonna split the thread in 2. And take your little mat of dubbing and we're gonna insert this in between the 2 parts of the thread, just like this. Here you may have to adjust a little bit. There we go. Then we have to spin up the thread clockwise again in order to cord up the thread and trap all these fibers in between. Once it's spun up, transfer all the turns up to the material and then come behind with your bobbin. Here you can brush out the fibers just a little bit, but as you see, it's well stuck onto the thread. Then we're gonna wind this up, creating the body. So touching turns, just make sure to get some pressure onto your turns right here. This is gonna furthermore secure the fibers. And we're gonna go up till about the eye. Just leave a little space behind it. Here we're gonna tie in our wing. And now you can brush this out just a little bit more. There we go. Next, the CDC. And here I've already bundled up 4 feathers. And as all feathers, usually you have one convex side and one concave, as you can see on this one. So we want the curve to go with the body. So try to stack all your feathers going with the body and also get the tips pretty much aligned. Then we can stroke these fibers to get them all pointing towards the back. And here at first we only want this to get situated, so don't really worry about the length. So a few loose turns over the top, then grab both parts and we're gonna pull it through till we get the fibers just to extend a little bit past the bend of the hook. And also make sure that you have a clean underside. Now a few heavier turns to secure. Pull back. A few turns in front to lock this down. And then up on top again. Now for the hot spot or the visible part of the fly. So I'm taking a pink CDC feather. And I'm gonna use a technique developed by Marc Petitjean. So I'm using his tools, so the magic clip, this one, and this table here. So what I'm doing is pushing down the CDC feather into this table, and this is gonna align all the fibers so that they stand upright. Cut off both ends. And now I'm gonna transfer this to the clip. Once it's in the clip, you have the stem exposed, and now we can cut this off. Then in order to get all these fibers bundled, I'm gonna take a needle like this. Make sure to put your thumb right on the bottom. Insert the needle in between, and we're gonna push down, and this is gonna align all the fibers. And then you just grab hold of it, and this bundle we're gonna tie in right here where we tied in the wing, making sure that it stays on top, and make sure to leave a little bit sticking out the front. A few heavy turns, and then pull all the material back that's looking out over the eye, and then some turns in front. We're gonna build up a little bit of a ramp or a little bit of stop here to make this material stand up straight up. A few turns like this. This is also gonna clean up the eye area, so it's really easy to get a tippet in there. Then whip finish. cut off. Now the last thing to do is to cut away the fibers just a little bit. So grab hold of these ones and we're gonna cut these off, making a little head or a little ramp here in front. Then for the back, take hold of all the fibers and cut these away as well. And now you're more or less done. If you want to, you can just continue cutting these fibers a little bit to make your fly look pretty. But this is the most of it. So here you can see from underneath we have the lighter body of the fly. We have the wing, dark wing, and then on top this nice bright part that's gonna be really easy to spot even in the faster water. And there we go. If you want to, you can also put a little drop of super glue or varnish onto the head. And as you can see, this is a really easy tie using only a few materials, but using them in this way with the visible part on top and also leaving all these ends of the fiber and tying in only the CDC fibers here on top is going to create a lot more lift, a lot more buoyancy to the fly, keeping it higher. Also the Kapok dubbing is going to help with the fly floating higher and for longer. The visible part is also going to make it a lot more visible than if you would only use the brown, the black or the gray fibers. And this brings me to the last point. This one is only one color combination that you could do, but here the possibilities are almost endless. As you can see from the Kapok dubbing only, there are a lot of different colors that you could use for the body. And then for the CDC wing and the visible part as well, you could mix and match to suit your conditions. It's not always that the bright pink spot is going to be the most visible on the water. Maybe it's going to be white, maybe it's going to be orange, green, maybe it's going to be something dark, and this is up to you to experiment. But tying it this way will make your fly float a lot longer, a little bit higher, and give you the possibility to see all the strikes even in the fastest moving waters. So there we have it, the Hi Viz F Fly. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and till the next video, happy tying.